Hello YouTube world, or wherever this video might end up in the future. This is a video I've been wanting to make for a long time, but I figured this is the perfect time to do it since I'm in the right mindset as far as just returning from the Dead Company shows and having that newfound feeling of that resurgence of musical delight, if you will. And as well as this, this video may be more or less for Deadheads, but as well, other people might find interest in, the story of how a person becomes completely, engulfed with the Grateful Dead as an entity, as a band, as a scene, as a community. When I was younger, of course, I wasn't a hippie kid. When I was 14, 15, I was a rocker. I was listening to heavy metal, Metallica, Megadeth, Pantera came out later, so I morphed into these different realms of music, but mostly it was hard rock, punk, metal, stuff like that. And there was some rap in there. And I was in the 80s, so I listened to NWA, and even MC Hammer a little bit. I pretty much was into anything, but all of a sudden my buddy comes, I come over to my buddy's house and he has this cassette tape. And he's like, yeah, this is the Grateful Dead. The album was American Beauty. And he said, let's check him out. I found this, or somebody gave it to me, and here's our 14, 15-year-old brain sitting here, Grateful Dead. This is going to be heavy metal. We pop it in, and for anybody who knows the Dead, the song Box of Rain comes on first. And we both look at each other and just say, what the hell is this? It's like when you get what you're not expecting. And so at first we just kind of laughed it off, but we kept listening. And next thing you know, within a year, we are packing up to go to Autzen Stadium to see the Grateful Dead. And we got here fly. We toured down there. I can't remember exactly how we drove. Yeah, we got these flies that followed us home from the rest stop. There's one or two of them that just won't leave. So I'm in the bus, by the way, and this was the best part for me. It was the idea of when I went to my very first show. We got down there. We got into the lot, and it was just amazing. I mean, the scene was crazy. People were selling anything you could imagine, and it was a heyday, a heaven for a young kid. We went in, and as soon as we walked into the stadium, we're just like, this is going to be great. There was a little bit of overcast, I believe, in our memories. It was slightly, the possibility of rain. And all of a sudden, the Dead come out, and they start playing their first song I'd ever heard live. And the song is Here Comes Sunshine. And as they were playing, the clouds parted, and the rest of the day was beautiful. It was the most epic moment. Now, this is 26, 27 years ago. The show that I just went to was in Autzen. We had to go because there was one show in the Gorge for Dead and Company, and then they were going down to Autzen Stadium. And I understand they can't play 2-3 nights in a row at every place now. And with the older generation of Deadheads, you can't expect them to be touring all around the place, if you know what I mean. So I understand, but it would have been nice to have 2 nights in the Gorge. But anyhow, when we were kids, I did have a Volkswagen bus. I bought when I was 18. It was my first car, and we took that to a couple of shows, and it was just an awesome experience. Well, now I have a school bus. It's something that we've always wanted, and we took this thing with us, and I was very reluctant to take it because I knew going to the Gorge was going to be uphill a lot, and it's going to be rough, but we did it anyway. It was an 800-mile trip to the Gorge, then down to Eugene, and then back home, including a 2-hour delay on the freeway, coming back, and it was a long, hectic drive as a driver of a bus. But having it was just such an epic experience. Just having your home on wheels, something that I've always dreamed of, not worrying about setting up tents and all that crap. You park, you open the door, and go, let's party. So, to come back to the first song as I was talking about, Here Comes Sunshine, when we went to the Gorge, and I have the set lists here I was going to read off and whatnot. Maybe I'll do that at the end because only Deadheads will really care about that. But we enjoyed the show, and then we had to get up early, pack our crap up, and leave quick to make it to the show. Well, as it happens, we were already just barely going to make it. And with a couple delays we had and a couple stops we made, we're saying, okay, we're gonna miss the first set, and there's usually 2 sets, And I had resigned myself to missing the first set, and that's okay. It's like, we just got to make it. We had no time to go to the motel and check in or do anything. My buddy wanted to, he got a motel room just in case. Went straight to the show. And as we're taking the exit to the concert, and you can see the cops directing traffic at the bottom, so we're almost to the stadium, Autzen Stadium. Coming 27 years later, back to the same first stadium, all of a sudden my bus dies in the middle of the exit, blocking all the rest of the traffic. All the Deadheads behind me that are also late to the show. A little bit of a panic sets in. I just pray that it's just a gas thing, because my gas gauge was at the end, and I was just kind of really hoping for the best. I have a 5-gallon gas can in here, so I pull it out, start filling it up, and next thing you know, I'm like, the handle breaks. I get gas all down my arm, dripping all over the street. It still won't start. Then I put as much of it in as I can, close the cap, go in, and everybody's like, just let's start. And it starts. I'm like, yes. She fires up. We go down. We take the turn. We go down the street. We see the last place where you can really park, and they're charging $40 for parking. And we knew they'd charge more for the bus. And at this point, we don't care. We just want to get into the show, because as I drove past the parking thing, it was like at a science center. I could see a line of cars just backed up, and everybody's waiting to park. And I knew we'd be screwed. This has happened to me before. I made a huge mistake, something I shouldn't have done, and flipped a completely illegal U-turn right in the middle of the highway, in the bus, in a 4-lane road. There was nobody coming, except for one motorcycle coming the other way down there. And guess what? Of course it was a cop. And he gets right behind me, and then I turn left to the area to park, and he pulls me over. And he comes up, and I'm like, I'm so sorry. I was like, I know what I did. He's like, what did you do? And I was like, I made an illegal U-turn. I was like, I apologize, and I told him the story. I was like, we're trying to get to this show. It's been a hell of a long drive. And he's like, when does the show start? And I was like, 5 minutes ago. He's like, all right, it's a $300 ticket. He's like, just be safe, drive safe, don't do it again. I was like, thank you. We got to the parking area. They ended up charging us. They wanted to charge us double, but we just paid $60 to them. Parked the bus, got out, forgot the tickets, ran back, got the tickets, started walking towards the show, and as we're walking up to the stadium, what are they playing? Here Comes Sunshine. The very first song I ever heard them play, at the very first place I ever heard them play. And we're standing in line waiting to get in. I didn't have a care in the world. There was no rush. It's like, here I am. I'm here. I'm hearing the music. This is what it's all about. And honestly, in that set, I found out that we'd only missed a couple songs, but they opened up with Deal, which is a great song, but I've heard it quite a few times. And then Me and My Uncle, which is also a great song, but I've heard it quite a few times. But as soon as Here Comes Sunshine was over, they played Black Throated Wind, Cold Rain and Snow, Peggy-O, and Sugar-E, and then they did One More Saturday Night. Well, then they did set 2. And I'm going to tell you, this set 2 was amazing. I mean, I was just blown away. We're down on the floor. We didn't even bother with any of the seats and crap. Everybody's just dancing around. And it was cool. Of course, Bill Walton was there because he's always at Dead shows. And so every time he's walked by, everybody's like, hey, Bill. But Trixie walked by, which is Jerry Garcia's daughter. One of his daughters, she walks by, and my wife's like, that's Trixie. I'm like, well, say hi. But, of course, there's that whole... Everybody's like, oh, it's Trixie. So, just leave her alone, let her do her own thing, dance around, whatever. But it's just cool. It's family. This is like the Dead's home, if you will. And so it was a really cool experience to be down there. And I hadn't taken anything. I was, sober. Just in the greatest, most elated state. It was just amazing. They open up set 2, Dark Star, into El Paso. And then Dark Star again, into St. Stephen, the William Tell Bridge, and the 11. Then they do their, the drum space like they do at every show, of course. Then, Morning Dew. This Morning Dew was something so epic, I just could never explain it. I mean, it was just... anybody can go watch it right now, but no matter what show I watch online or on any of the, recordings, it just never lives up to the experience of being there. But that Morning Dew was amazing, and then they went in to Turn On Your Love Light. And when they come back with the encore, it's Broke Down Palace. And Broke Down Palace was one of the first kind of ballad slow songs that I had ever heard, and that was on the first album we'd ever heard, American Beauty. So it really brought things around to, almost 30 years later, here I am, like kind of closing a chapter, which I guess is what I felt like I was doing a few years back when they did the Fare Thee Well tour. And that was different because they did it as the kind of, not as Dead and Company or as The Dead, but as the Grateful Dead. They really wanted to, I don't know, they only did 2 places, Chicago and Shoreline, and we went down to Shoreline and saw those shows, and it was just epic. Just, amazing. Amazing experience. And if you've never seen The Dead, there's this one thing people will ask me, they're like, well, I tried to get into The Dead, I just, it's not my thing. I'm not going to say a person can't get into The Dead if they've, didn't grow up with it, but it's so much more pronounced when you have that nostalgia from when you were a kid. And for me, anyway, when I go to a show, I think about all those experiences prior and all the places that we'd been and the things that we'd done, breaking down in our cars and tripping too hard and, just some crazy stories. But I think that a lot of folks from the outside have this view that Deadheads all go in there and take a bunch of psychedelics and act like fools. It's really not like that. Most people are pretty coherent, and it's about the dancing. It's about the experience. It's about the moment. Yeah. The set in the Gorge was just amazing. They played, Lady with the Fan and Terrapin Station, which, of course, are some of my favorites. But I remember saying to my wife, I was like, I think I hope they play U.S. Blues. She said they'll probably play it on the 4th of July since they're doing the 2nd and 3rd in Shoreline. But they did encore with it, and that was really good, And they played Crazy Fingers, which is a really great song. And I don't know, just being a Deadhead is an interesting experience, and I guess that's why I'm making this video, to, get it down on video, if you will, my thoughts on it. I was just looking at my concert tickets here, and I was looking, and it's like the Grateful Dead with Cracker, and there was one with the Indigo Girls, one at the Memorial Stadium in Seattle, which I didn't even know I made it into that one. So I started realizing I didn't even know there was the Portland Meadows show they did in the last year they were here. Here's one from Autzen from 94, 93, or here's one from 95 at Seattle. But when I was looking through the rest of them, I found a further festival ticket with Rat Dog and Bob Weir, which I forgot I even went to that. But then there's the rest, other things that I, Modest Mouse, Black Sabbath, Long Beach Dub All-Stars, Medeski, Martin and Wood. And then the Bonnaroo ticket and all the random things. This right here is what life is all about. Memories. It's a memory book of my thought. It's like a photo album that I just put in wristbands, bracelets, and everything. And just if I were to convey any one message through this video to people, it would be, regardless of who you like or what you like, it doesn't matter. It could be music. It could be art forms of any type. Embrace what you do enjoy and try to make the most experiences and the most out of experiences to ensure that in your future you have great memories. Because the memories are what drive us. The memories are really all we have. And this is why, for example, Alzheimer's is so scary. Or, people who have amnesia. It's scary to forget things because memories are all we have of who we are. So try to create as many as possible by going out and doing as many things as possible and things that move you. And, I feel like the 2 shows that we just saw, out of all the ones that I've listened to them play, they were 2 of the most phenomenal shows that I've ever heard them play as Dead and Company or the Grateful Dead. It was just, the energy was there, and it's hard to judge that from the outside, from the inside when you're there. If I were to watch the video, would I feel the same way? Well, there's one guy who does reviews on Dead shows. He's cool as shit. Can't remember the dude's name, but my wife watches him. He's just really animated. He gets really into, the reviews. And if you Google anything about Dead reviews, he'll probably pop up. But he said, best show ever for Eugene. He was just blown away. And the night before, he was talking about how amazing the Gorge show was. And it's true. Both of them were just epic fucking shows. God damn, it was amazing. And so hopefully next year will be even better. We'll see. But, you know, it's going to be, every time we go to a show, you say it's going to be hard to top that. But we always manage to, because we have our accumulated experiences from prior days. And while Deadheads vary a lot in the personality types, and there are plenty of people who just beg and want shit for free and will try to rip you off for trading, there's more people who don't. And there's more people who care and who are kind to one another and want to give things away. You know, gifting community is moving forward. I believe that in the future, as more and more events I go to, I'm watching this unfold, that it's less and less about vending and getting as much as you can, and more about just holding an established, you know, enough to get by, and by making other people happy and giving them things they can afford, or for free in general, if you can afford. This is why we have tiered ticket systems now, you know, where people are willing to pay more for their ticket because they know that others have to pay. They don't have as much money, and it's a beautiful thing. You know, I found this in the burner community, the Burning Man community, which is totally different from the Dead community, but I see it as an evolution and a way of kind of bringing together more than just music, but saying, hey, we as people, we don't like the way society is operating. We know there's nothing we can do to change the system. People are crazy. There's lots of us. There's nothing we can do in our little lifetimes that's going to change the whole world for us, except for to change our mindset and the way that we perceive it, and to find more people who are willing to listen and understand each other, listen to each other, and let down that guard, right? Peace, love, all that stuff. Have a great day, and talk to y'all later.